Welcome. The shutting down of the federal government is not something Americans want to see, because it may have negative impacts on the ability of certain industries to operate at a full capacity, as some are dependent on licensing, permitting, or federal funding. People who rely on government services or conveniently need access at this moment will have to wait. Political stunts are never really an acceptable substitute for principled leadership. Catering to your party's fringe at the expense of millions upon millions of Americans is not the leadership these elected officials were put in power to do. Democrats reportedly saw the shutting down of the federal government as a viable political stunt to show their progressive base that they have the fight in them. They do not want to appear as weak and accommodating to the Trump administration and base that they hate and despise. So they are willing to shut down the government to make a political point. And it is for the sole purpose of making a political point, because there is no legitimate reason behind their prevention of allowing a clean extension of the existing spending levels. As much as they want to spout their rhetoric, the reality is that they are standing in the way of a clean extension of what already exists. For what? Holding the federal government to expand subsidies for a bottomless pit of a program in Obamacare. A political stunt because they want to see Republicans fund a program they oppose. This is not an issue of protecting healthcare. It is a political stunt. For the progressive left, they only see government in the sense of protecting programs that their leaders champion. Despite moves that Trump has made to improve healthcare access and low costs, they simply want to stump for programs that have done more harm than good. Rather than focusing on ideas that can be done in the current environment, they are becoming defenders of the past, which is something they would heavily criticize Republicans for if they were solely operating in the defense of a program that bore no real net benefits. At the end of the day, the government shutdown is more political than practical. And will come and go and everyone will be all right. It is not that big of a deal. But you will have to question whether providing improper benefits to illegal aliens is the proper use of taxpayer dollars. Democrats no longer care about the true interests of Americans, because rational Americans have been fleeing them in favor of being independent or switching over to the Republican side. Therefore, there is only one group that will have to remain loyal, because no one else is radical enough to essentially take money from legitimate purposes paid by hard-working taxpayers to provide to people who do not pay into the system and are not here legally. Now, they are willing to shut down the federal government largely for the purpose of funding the interest of people who do not have a legal claim to federal funds. They have become a burden long enough, and that is why the public supports the removal of illegals. The healthcare needs should really be borne by their home nations.
My proposed solution would be to offer a slight increase in the level of subsidies to support access to health coverage. Limit the subsidy to those citizens who meet a certain income level that would reasonably need government support, not a blanket benefit, and not to people who do not have a legal right to government support. Now, there will be Republicans who do not want to put any more tax dollars into a program that has done little to deliver for Americans what it promises. But there are plenty of impoverished Americans who do need some level of assistance to meet their health needs. That is an inconvenient truth that we cannot ignore. The political reality is that Democrats will most likely not stop there, because there is an alignment in the Democratic Party that connects them to the interests of people who are not legally allowed to vote for them, but are the only ones who have not abandoned them at this point. The only real poll Americans need to understand is the registration shift that is taking place across the nation. And that is caused largely because the Democrats have lost trust with the general public and have been seen for what they truly are lately: dishonest and politically self-interested. What do Democrats actually do for the American people lately, other than offer defenses for the worst in the world and our society and for those that are in violation of the law? We see the clear hypocrisy of the party that sees successful people as criminals, people speaking out against them as treasonous, and people holding the bad elements accountable as fascist. Radical views that stand between and the average truly mainstream American. Rational Americans see successful people as role models. Rational people voice their informed opinions and are not threatened by opposing views. And rational Americans want to see the bad actors in our society held accountable in fair and just manners. Rational people see the need to grow freedom, individual opportunity, and personal empowerment. So when you see our government shut down because of the rejection of a clean extension of the existing spending levels, then you have to look at the cause to determine who really is at fault, who is actually politically and who is acting practically. At times throughout our history, the parties have been either side. In this shutdown, the clear side acting politically is Democrats. The memes do not help, but Democrats spend every second making hysteria-driven claims about Republicans. So turnabout is fair play. Hopefully they come to their senses. A big thank you to all of you in the audience. Your viewership is appreciated and valued. Please follow the Christopher Peter Review on social media and continue to visit www.crcreview.com for new episodes of the Christopher Peter Podcast and the CRC. Thank you once again. Until next time.